I wanted to put out a record of some of the things I've learned this year, partly just so I can look back at it, but also to help those of you following in my footsteps who are desperately struggling against many of the things that any entrepreneur hits as you develop and grow. The first is the human psychology of those around you. Many years ago, I was walking through my hometown in the UK, and we spotted alongside one of my friends a Ferrari. Now, I stopped and started to have a look at it at the moment where I heard a whoosh, and this glob of spit flew over my head and landed on the bonnet of this car that I was admiring. And it really did shock me. I was not expecting it. And I was really shocked that my friend at the time thought that this was the best response possible. And we were both car guys, but his resentment had made him angry at this car while I was feeling inspired. And it's this moment that I think happens a lot to all humans. I don't think he's any different from anyone else. That when you see something that you think is unattainable, you feel resentful towards it if you really want it. And the alternative is to actually realize that you have some power in you to move closer towards a goal. For whatever reason, when I was 19, walking through town, seeing that car, part of me thought that that might be an option for me one day if I wanted one. And for whatever reason, he felt the opposite, that he would never have it, because we both loved cars. We were connected on that point, but he didn't think he would be able to get his dream car, and so he resented it. And I think the same happens as you go through life generally. And what I would say to all of my followers is just pay attention for those moments where instead of feeling inspired, you start to feel resentful, because you probably have a story going on in your mind that is that you will never achieve that thing that you really want. First of all, even if you can't achieve it, it's better just to acknowledge what's really going on and that it isn't the fault of the person who has achieved something that you won't achieve it. But most importantly of all, don't believe that you won't achieve it. Now, this is tricky because I think there's actually an unconscious desire for some people to believe that you can't achieve something. Just examine for a second what the kickback is when you believe you can't achieve it. There is no pressure to try. There is no chance of failure. As the saying goes, dare to dream. The reason that you have to dare is because there is inherent risk, the risk of failure. It is painful to fail, but don't let that stop you wondering what's possible and resenting those who have already achieved something that you would desperately like to achieve. It's all there for the taking. I don't believe we've lived ever in a time that's made it easier to grow businesses. We have so many free resources available. Make sure that you implement whatever you can. The next thing I learned this year was actually around Googling celebrity deaths. So I'm quite an anxious person when it comes to health and many things. And if I find out that a celebrity around about my age has died, I get an uncontrollable urge to figure out why. And I was trying to think about, why is this so important to me? Why do I need to know exactly what has killed this person who I identify with? And the reason, of course, is that I'm trying to figure out whether this applies to me. Is the same thing that's killed off the celebrity likely to get me? Now, that question of does this apply to me, I think is on our minds all the time. And I think a lot of people do the same when they look at successful people. And I've caught myself doing this many years ago. I remember thinking that I would never do well on Instagram because I hadn't been in the game at the right time. It was so easy when you first started. You just had to make some pretty ordinary photographs and put them out, and you'd have hundreds of thousands of followers if you were persistent. And so those people who had far more followers than me only got there essentially because they were there at the right time. And what I'd done in that way of thinking is I'd let myself off the hook. It's not my fault that I don't have loads of followers because I wasn't there at the right time. Now, this is actually just your ego's way of protecting you, and it's a way of getting you off the hook. There are always reasons why someone has got a better deal than you in life. But if you focus on those things, you're basically confining yourself to staying where you are. So I realized that I need to look for inspiration from those people who are doing far better than me, rather than look for the reasons why they got it easy and I'm never going to catch up with them. Because if you do that, you at least have the hope of moving forward and developing and making your goals more likely to occur. Obviously, we can't all achieve everything that comes into our imagination, but at the same time, you're going to achieve a lot more when you look for inspiration rather than excuses about why you can't do it because you weren't there at the right time or you didn't have exactly the same set of cards dealt to you in life as the person that you're looking at. Ultimately, this is a decision on focus. We all, as entrepreneurs, need to be focusing on what's possible and not looking or allowing our brains to take us to why we can never do something. It's essentially a scarcity versus abundance mindset, and it makes all the difference to the opportunities that you're likely to spot and the actions that you're likely to take when you're constantly looking for what you can learn rather than what you do not have control over. The next thing I've learned is around criticism. As I looked back over 2022, I'll be honest, this has been one of the best years of my business life by a long margin. But we also did a lot of other stuff, both in our personal and private lives, that put a lot of strain on our family. So this is silly things, but things that do stress you out, like getting a puppy when you've already got plenty of children in the house who make a lot of mess. But also we helped a family from the Ukraine, a fellow Injector who's been living with us since August. Now, the thing that's interesting about this to me was that we actually got criticized for all of those things. And we got criticized for the Julie Horn event because it was expensive, for various trainings that I offered because they were priced in a way that people didn't find comfortable. When we shared that we had a Ukrainian family living with us, people criticized us and said it wasn't real and it was just us virtue signaling or something like that. Now, the reason I want you to think about this situation is because I know it's happening to you guys out there as well. I know that when you first start aesthetics, the other nurses on the ward criticize you. They think it's all vanity or you're making money out of people's insecurities. They think you don't care about your patients or that you're wasting your qualifications. These are the critics that we all have in our lives as you progress forward. And who are you to listen to? Why do these people come up with their negative points of view? And like we've already discussed, I think a lot of this is around your growth being a challenge to them. Because if you think about it, if you're standing still and someone next to you starts to move, it's a challenge. Are you going to stay still or are you going to do something new in your life and try and make things better? So a lot of people who don't want to move will criticize those who do move. And if you're following me, you're probably one of the people who are trying to move forward, trying to make things better, growing a practice, trying to leave the NHS, things that will cause a friction and a pain in those around you. And you need to know how to prepare for this and to challenge yourself to navigate according to a better bar than what they might be seeing. So who are we supposed to listen to? Now, the key here is that we are trying to serve a certain tribe of people. Now, aesthetics, as we all know, is quite tribal, but don't forget that you actually get to choose who your tribe are. And I don't think your tribe should be people in the aesthetics world who you identify with. They really should be you, your family, your team that you might build, and the clients that you serve. And they should be your judge about whether you're doing a good job or not. My friend Kev from House of Ikigai told me when I was talking about industry criticism, he said, you know, it's not the people who are buying your products and services who are criticizing you. Just remember that. And this really made me think, this is actually where we should be looking for our validation and for our guidance. The people who you attempt to serve. If you're starting an aesthetics business and you're treating someone and their life gets better, that's your guide about whether you're doing a good job or not. Not what your uncle says about you making money out of insecure people, which is also something that I've had. We have to look for our validation in the work that we do and not be judged by those on the sidelines who essentially have no skin in the game and are probably just justifying their own inertia. This criticism is not directed at you. It is part and parcel of becoming notable. It is essentially the price you pay for development is that you challenge those around you. So see it as a sign that you are growing and that you're on the right path. Use your patients, the people that you serve as your guide, and don't be put off by those around you who don't want to move. Finally, one of the most useful things which I've thought a lot more about this year that I think you can use in your practices in everything, it runs all the way from how you market yourself to how you consult and talk to your patients, is simply the process of understanding human motivation. I think a lot of injectors think that they need to know injection technique or anatomy as the primary thing. And of course, you have to have that. That's the core of the skill, the product that you deliver. But until you understand human motivation, you will continuously get it wrong in terms of how you advise and treat patients. So think about what makes you actually move and think about the degree of motivation that a patient has when they're sitting in front of you saying, yes, inject my face. This understanding makes everything else make sense. Now, this year I had a realization about a new aspect of human motivation, which I had not fully built into my model. So my previous model was that essentially we all need a compelling vision. So you need to picture something in your mind that really motivates you, that gets you excited. That's step one. The next thing is you need a plan that you believe will actually get you there. So if you think about human motivation as walking up a mountain, if you just see the top of the mountain, but in front of you is a forest and you cannot see a path, your motivation to try and climb that mountain will decrease because it's just not clear how to get there. So the next thing you need, apart from your clear vision, is a path to get there that you believe in. Do you actually believe this will lead you to where you want to go? The third thing is really about you and whether you trust yourself to execute on that plan. And this is something that is, if you don't already have it, don't lose hope, because you can build trust in yourself by executing on smaller plans that make you realize that you really are capable. So this is essentially about building confidence. We need to build a sense of confidence by taking small incremental steps out of our comfort zone to develop trust in your own abilities. Now, the fourth element, I actually learned when I was with Julie Horn in Switzerland, and we were talking about many clinicians and the things they were struggling to move on with. And I realized that the fourth reason that people don't move forward in their life, when they might have a compelling vision and a clear path to get there, and even trust in themselves to move in that direction, is that they are too afraid to let go of what they've already got. Essentially, humans will choose certainty often over growth. If you are okay in your job, but it's not that bad, but it's not fulfilling you, you're kind of miserable and you wish you could build something better, you tend to stick with that thing that you know ahead of moving forward because of fear of losing something that's good. So just reflect on this, because I think once you understand that it's the fear of letting go, not the problem with executing the plan, that is stopping you, you can then start to develop a strategy on how to let go. What are the stages you need to do to change your current position so that it is easier to let go of the good thing and move towards the great thing? On that note, I hope that helps you. Have a wonderful 2023. We'll be there all the way through. We've got tons of exciting things coming up. So stay in touch. Make sure that you like and subscribe and are joining all our channels, and you'll be the first to know. Thanks for watching.